Hey guys, welcome to For the Watch. It's your girl Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe if you like the vibe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Today I'm going to be going over the latest episode of From Season 3, episode number 2. But since you didn't get to hear my recap for episode number 1, let's do a quick recap before we get into the recap for episode number 2. In episode number 1, we're back with Tabitha at the hospital, and the nurse tells her that she's in Camden, Maine. The nurse also starts asking her questions about how she got her bruises and just asking Tabitha if she remembers anything. Then the nurse tells Tabitha that the police are on their way. But don't worry, it's just a safety precaution. So when the nurse leaves, Tabitha gathers her things, gets dressed, and escapes the hospital because she's like, we ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody about to believe my story, so I gotta go. We eventually see her use a stranger's cell phone to contact her mom just to let her know that everything was okay. Now, for me, guys, this was an emotional scene because I felt bad for Tabitha's mom. You know, she was like, mi amor, please stay on the phone. But of course, Tabitha, she had to go, okay? Like, they're in a very strange predicament. And for somebody like her who's been through what she's been through, nobody's gonna believe her. You know what I'm saying? So she got to go. Next, back in town, we have Boyd, who gets a visit from dead Father Khatri, and he's basically pointing out all the obvious things to Boyd, you know, all the problems and stuff. What are you gonna do? It's getting cold, blah, 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 right? So to make matters worse, Donna finds out that the soil is poisoned and the crops are rotten. So the townspeople are starting to go crazy and do what people do during mass hysteria, right? They storm Tien Chin's kitchen and take the food from there. And I was just like, really, that's not cool. You know what I'm saying? So now Boyd and Donna, they must come up with a plan as to how they're going to make it through the next few months while they wait for a harvest, okay? So we heard the plan, right? The plan was to plant in smaller areas in different soil and then to like feed off of the animals very slowly and, you know, ration properly and all that stuff. And hopefully in the next 3 months, they can, you know, have a harvest, all right? So we also see Randall trying to take a goat because, of course, he would do that, right? You know what I'm saying? But I gotta give him his props. When the night monsters came around and let the animals out of the barn, you know, that little trick they did, Randall came to Julie and Ethan and Sarah's rescue, okay? You know, he's on the bus, so he sees the stuff going down and he tells them, hey, come on over here, and he shelters them on the bus, all right? But before we get into all of that, guys, we had Fatima hogging up the bathroom, throwing up and stuff, right? Looking like death. Then we had Jim, who goes out to the woods to look for Tabitha. Kenny decides to tag along because he knows how it feels to lose one parent, and he didn't want Ethan and Julie to lose both their parents. And for me, I'm like, okay, that's ironic how Kenny goes to help Jim with this purpose in mind, only to lose his mother in the process. So now he has lost the very thing he was trying to prevent for Julie and Ethan, which is both parents being lost, right? So speaking of Tien Chin, the trick that the night creatures pulled to lure Boyd and a few others out of their houses was absolutely evil. But of course, right? But I feel like Boyd shouldn't have fell for it. But at the same time, I get it. You know what I mean? You don't want your food going to waste, basically, or your resources. So we saw what happened, right, guys? The night creatures tie up Boyd and make him watch as they rip Tien Chin's body to shreds. Okay, well, rip her body apart. I'm not going to say to shreds, but you know. And they wanted him to watch to prove a point that this place can break him, you know? So that's pretty much that, guys. They definitely came out of the gate swinging with this premiere, okay? So now let's get into the second episode called When We Go. So we see that it's morning and Boyd is still in the barn tied up to the beam. And Tien Chin's dead body is across the way. Jade comes in and he finds Boyd slumped over, mumbling something in Cantonese, along with seeing poor lifeless Tien Chen, okay? So now the news is spreading, guys, and Donna comes in and she's pretty much blaming Boyd for what happened, and he kind of loses it on her because he was like, how the heck is this my fault? You know, like, what the freak was I supposed to do? So Donna was like, you're right. Okay, you're right. You did what you could, you know, what you thought was right and blah, blah, blah. But then she tells him that she's angry with herself for ever believing him when he told her that one day they were going to get out of that place. Meanwhile, we have Fatima, who continues to throw up in the bathroom all the time and look sick and everything, feel sick, all that. But now she loses a freaking tooth, guys. So her and Ellis go seek medical attention from Christy, but Christy wasn't there. Her girlfriend was there instead. And she tells them that the baby seems fine, but Fatima is severely malnourished. No wonder you lost a tooth and all that, because she hasn't been eating. She hasn't eaten in a few days, right? So she also tells Fatima that she has really bad morning sickness, and she gave her some type of medicine, okay? So next, we have Tabitha, who wakes up in Victor's father's house, and for a while, we watched as she tried to explain that she wasn't lying about knowing/meeting Victor, and that he was the one who gave her his lunchbox. So no matter how much info Tabitha told Victor's father to prove that she wasn't lying, he would not believe her, okay? Until she mentioned something about helping the children in the tower. For some reason, that got his attention. Now, by this time, he'd already called the cops and he was keeping her there by gunpoint. But no worries, y'all, it wasn't loaded. We find this out when the police finally show up, and he tells them that he was just tripping and he thought there was an intruder in his home, okay? Next, back in town, poor Kenny comes back super excited because him and Jim found food out in the woods. But of course, no one can be happy with him because they know that they have to give him the devastating news. Well, at least somebody has to, and that somebody is always Boyd, okay? And oh man, y'all, like, first of all, it was bad enough that we had to like hear them ripping at Tien Chen's body in that first episode and her screaming and stuff like that. That was so freaking sad. But now we get another sad scene and we see Kenny calling for his mom, speaking Cantonese, and you know, of course, he's outside of the house trying to call her, but there was no answer. When people tried to comfort him, he kept saying, it's okay, no, it's okay, right, I'm okay. But then he asked Christy if his mother suffered, and I was like, yeah, you know, Christy don't know that though, you know what I'm saying? So then Kenny asked Christy if she could make Tien Chen look like herself, because he doesn't want his last image of her to be terrible like it was of his father. Like, he can't get that out of his head. He also says that Tien Chen wouldn't like it if she didn't look like herself. Next, Julie tells Jim that she cannot be the fill-in parent every time he loses his crap. She tells him that she was 15 when Thomas died and she had to hold it down while Jim and Tabitha fell apart. Well, I can't do it again, so get yourself together because Ethan needs you. And Jim was just like standing there looking dumbfounded, talking about some, okay. And I'm like, man, please don't let your daughter talk to you like that. Like, she's not your parent. You're her parent, okay? Now, even though I'm sure she has a point, she could express herself more respectfully, in my opinion, okay? However, I'm going to give her a little grace and a pass because emotions are running high and they've been through a lot and they're in a terrible / nightmarish freaking situation, okay? But unfortunately, because of their circumstances, she has to train her mind to be mentally strong, because as much as she doesn't want to be the fill-in parent, if something happens to Jim, she ain't gonna have a choice. Next, we find out why Victor's father changed his mind about sticking the cops on Tabitha. According to him, his wife Miranda used to hear voices before she disappeared. So she told him that there were children locked in a tower crying out to be saved. So the sad thing is that Victor's dad was apparently the talk of the town when his family disappeared, and people thought that he had something to do with it. And that's already tough to go through, especially since he was saying, like, I didn't care what people were saying because I just lost my world. Like, I missed my family, and the last thing that I told them to do was like clean their room or something like that. So he wasn't even satisfied with like having a good word to them, like I love you or something, you know what I mean? But anyway, guys, he makes up in his mind that the only possible way Tabitha could have gotten a hold of Victor's lunchbox and how she knows about the children in the tower is that she must be telling the truth, right? And that his son is alive. So after she swears to him that everything is true, Victor's father tells her that she may need something that's in the basement. And we'll get back to that. Next, I don't know what's wrong with Fatima, but it's more than just malnourishment and severe morning sickness, okay? Because this girl was over there eating rotten crops, and she was going to town on them too, like she liked them, or more like she freaking needed them, like it was a relief to her or something. And I was like, oh my freaking gosh, I hope she ain't turning it into one of them things or something. Like, what the heck is going on? Next, I just want to mention really quickly, guys, that Donna was prepping the cow that was killed by the night creature the night before, right? And after how that cow died and how her neck was ripped open by that creature, I don't know if I would feel comfortable eating it. Like, stuff is getting poisoned, people teeth falling out. Like, it's too many weird stuff that goes on in this town, and I wouldn't want to eat anything that them creatures put their hands on, okay? Next, Kenny tells Boyd that he's gonna go to the tunnels and set them on fire because at this point, he wants revenge and he wants the creatures to hurt, okay? So Boyd, of course, he can't talk him out of it. So I feel like this is a reverse psychology type of situation, and he tells Kenny that he'll go with him. So when they get there, they were actually discussing how Tabitha and Victor and Jay, they all went down into the tunnels and they saw some crazy things, right? And Boyd was like, but you know one thing that they didn't see? They didn't see one freaking creature. So it's a possibility that they're not down there, right? Maybe they moved ahead or something like that, right? Then Boyd says, we could still go, but there's a chance that we won't come back. But I'm going to be with you by your side, right? It's going to be a side-by-side thing, and we're going to kill as many of them as we can. Okay, so Kenny starts talking about his mom, and he says, I keep thinking about her and how scared she must have been and how alone she must have felt. So that's when Boyd had to tell Kenny that Tien Chen wasn't alone because the creatures made him watch. And I'm sorry, I couldn't help her, but she was brave and she kept her eyes on me the whole time. So then we find out why Boyd kept mumbling in Cantonese earlier in the episode, because it was the last thing that Tien Chen said before she died, right? Those were her last words. So now he repeats it to Kenny, and Kenny starts crying some more, and he tells Boyd that it means take care of him. He'll be alone now. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, wow, you know, like she really was brave. And just like a mother, she was thinking about the welfare of her child as she was on her way out. So Kenny and Boyd go back into town, and Kenny goes to the church to see his mother. And Jade and Christy, you know, they did a pretty good job so that she looked presentable for Kenny. Sarah had came by earlier and dropped off a dress and everything and told the story about how her and Tien Chen used to be playing dress up and stuff, and that Tien Chen told her that she wanted to wear that dress when they went home. So, you know, it turned out well, and I liked that they had like a funeral for her, you know. Okay, so let's get back to Tabitha real quick, guys. So Victor's dad brings her to his basement and tells her about how his wife, Miranda, started hearing voices, right? It was all because she went down memory lane and decided to get high again after they gave up that hippie life, you know, after they had their kids. Bottom line, though, guys, is that Miranda felt like she was chosen to free the kids in the tower. Only problem is there were others who were chosen too, but they all failed, okay? She even drew pictures of the children and told him about the nightmarish town that people could get into from anywhere but couldn't find on purpose, and couldn't escape from. So Victor's dad tells Tabitha that maybe she's the chosen one because she was able to get out, and she also recognized all those pictures and saw the picture of the little boy that, you know, he's always wearing white, and he pushed her out the tower. Now this was all very interesting to me, but it gave me very little hope, okay? Because my thing is, it's great that Tabitha got out, but how the heck will she get back in to save her family and the other people? All right. Next, I'm going to discuss Julie really quickly. Okay. She finds Sarah and she thanks her for helping them last night, but then tells her that this place is getting to her mind and she doesn't want to hurt anyone. In other words, I don't want to end up like you, Sarah. Okay. And hopefully she doesn't hurt anybody, guys. But if she does, let's hope the people don't treat her like they've been treating freaking Sarah. Okay. Next, Boyd tells Ellis that he needs his help to capture one of the creatures because he's tired of sitting around waiting for information. Okay, so we're going to see where that goes. Finally, we get to the last scene. While Julie and Ethan go off to the barns or somewhere to make sure that the animals were fed. I just feel like it was Julie. She was in a funk and she just wanted any old excuse to get away from her dad or not be in the house or whatever, okay? So Jim goes inside the house and the phone starts ringing. He picks it up and there's some static, but the voice on the other end says, "Dad, it's Thomas." And I was like, man, get the heck out of here. That's corny as heck. Like, I really don't care about none of that right now. You know, we already know that this ain't nothing but a tactic to make Jim lose his freaking mind. We already saw this happen before where I think there was some type of call coming from, like, remember when they were trying to find like a radio signal or something like that, and Jim was already hearing voices. So yeah, this place, like Julie is saying, she feels like the place is coming after her mind. I feel like the place is also going to try to come after Jim's mind as well. So yeah, folks better beware, okay? I don't know what the heck is going on with Fatima, if she about to turn into one of them things or something, but it's not good. If she's eating rotten things, maybe she might want to start eating raw freaking meat, you know, dead animals raw without being cooked, you know, like, I don't know, like, that's a bad sign to me, okay guys? But anyway, let me know what y'all thought about the episode. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Until next time, take care and be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.